Thank you. This is a tough day to be inside, and you've got three great presenters and so forth. And is there anything left for me to say? It's always tough to be the last, but so I'm glad that I plan to sort of have an Irish wake. And so there's some green beer out in the hallway. Party's over. Okay, I wish I had planned a little bit better, because that does sound good. As the introduction referred to, as a social worker, I've worked with lots of families in crisis for many, many years. And what I've learned as a green cemeterian is that really the importance of families and relationships. And so that's what I'd like to focus on, to kind of, again, in a sense, give you another view of what a green cemetery or a natural cemetery is all about. The Farley Center really has its roots in a family that's very dedicated to improving the world. Linda Farley was a physician. She died in 2009. Gene Farley is still alive. He lives at the Farley Center at his house, which is also known as the Center, along with myself and my wife. His sons are on the board of directors. His grandchildren may become members of the board of directors. And in many, many ways, it is a very strong family-oriented project with several generations working to make this Farley Center happen and to make the Green Cemetery happen, the Natural Past Sanctuary. Some of our paths have crossed. I've met Selena several years ago, been out to Circle Cemetery. I want you to know that we have people in the Madison area who know about both places, and I had an email recently and someone said, "Kevin, Circle Cemetery is prettier than yours." And I said, "Yeah, their trees are bigger, and Celine's a powerful person." But so I feel like, well, how can, we're not competing. We recognize that we each have our own unique strengths and so forth, and they do have beautiful land there. But I'll show you a few slides of our place. And nature, as you know, the beauty of nature is in the eye of the beholder. And so there are many different ways that individuals and families connect with nature. And so what we're all about, and what Circle Cemetery is all about, and what Sharon and her colleagues are all about, is that we're trying to give people a choice. And we're trying to help families be more intimately involved with a very profound experience in life. Gene Farley likes to think of our cemetery not first as a cemetery, but as a nature preserve. So we have 43 acres. We set aside 25 acres to be the cemetery. But Gene still likes to call it the nature preserve burial ground because there are hiking trails there, and people can come. They don't have to be connected with someone being buried there. They can just come and enjoy the land. We have a pond. We have a pine tree plantation. We have cropland on our land. And so there are many people who've grown up in rural areas, who've been farmers, who are doing organic gardening or whatever. They love to come out to our space because there's so many different ways for them to connect with the land, so many different ways of the power of the land speaking to them. And so there isn't one type of cemetery that fits for everyone. As Selena and others have referred to, there are many shades of green. The Green Burial Council will talk about hybrid burial grounds, which is sort of a conventional cemetery that has a section that also does green. There's the nature preserve burial ground, that's our style and pretty much Circle Cemetery style as well. And then there's also conservation cemeteries, or conservation burial grounds. And one of the hats that I wear is I'm still on the board of directors of an organization called Full Circle Project. And Full Circle Project used to be called the Trust for Natural Legacies. The Trust for Natural Legacies put out a presentation in 2006, and 2007, and 2008 at MREA. And there are some nuns who came to that presentation. And, I presented in 2008, 2009 there, and we were spreading the word about green cemeteries and natural burials and so forth. Well, the original group sort of faded, and I've been on the board for several years, and we changed the name last year to Full Circle Project because we don't own any land. We're not really a land trust, and we really are more about education and so forth. But I'm sorry to say that I think our board hasn't met in about 6 months, and it's possible that you may be reading obituaries soon. photo project. But I told people that I would at least talk about it. I brought one of their brochures. We've got a green brochure that's about conservation cemeteries that Natural Trust, the Trust for Natural Legacies, now called Full Circle Project, put out a couple of years ago. So they were very instrumental in helping me learn more about what this is all about. And so I do have to give them a lot of credit. But now that I'm actually a green cemeterian, I realize that it is complex. It isn't simple. It's not easy to start one. You do have legal things to go through and so forth. But you can never underestimate the power of doing this and working together as a community. Just as Selena has a community around her and Sister Sharon has a community around her, we have a community around us too at the Farley Center. We have staff that do the agricultural work. My wife and I are staff for the cemetery and some of the other things that happen there. We've got a number of volunteers that come out there. We have students that come. We're hoping to have a number of research projects on the land. And so it's building community. So it's not just about the grave site or that burial lot that people may be buried in. It's about becoming part of something bigger than yourself. And for many people, that really resonates from a spiritual point of view, from an emotional, social point of view. So that's the kind of atmosphere and the climate that we're trying to create at the Farley Center, and in particular at the Natural Past Sanctuary. A couple of other things I just wanted to pick up on some comments before I show you some of the slides and so forth is that Selena was talking about the importance of you making arrangements in advance. So in 2008, the state of Wisconsin passed a law and created a legal form called the Authorization for Final Disposition. And so I have a copy here, but it's available on the state of Wisconsin's Department of Health Services website under the alphabetical section of A for Advanced Directives, because under the tab of Advanced Directives, you have a power of attorney for healthcare, power of attorney for finances, a living will, also known as a declaration of physicians, and the fourth document is an authorization for final disposition. So you can put down in the state of Wisconsin legal document who you want to be in charge, because your healthcare agent, named in your power of attorney for healthcare, their authority does not persist upon your death, unless you have an attorney draw it up and it has some special language in it. But the standard Wisconsin document, your power of attorney for healthcare and your power of attorney for finances, those individuals, they cease upon your death. So it's very important to be aware of those legal things, because in some families, and unfortunately I've worked with those families where there are 5 adult children and they all don't quite know the meaning of the word consensus. It doesn't always go real well sometimes. So you can avoid some of that tension in the family if you do pre-planning and use the appropriate documents and have the appropriate conversations. Family reunion picnics in the summertime, Thanksgiving events, Christmas events. I encourage people to get out your advanced directives and talk about those things as well as your area things. But seriously, the families that do pre-planning do much better, and it's really, truly a gift to your family. How many of time?
You got 12 minutes.
All right. Slow down. So another thing that I wanted to point out was that in terms of making your own shroud, I think that's a great idea. I've told my wife, she really doesn't like all these t-shirts that I collected. I did a lot of like walks and runs when I was younger and so forth. So you get the Set in My Walk. How many have done the Set in My Walk in Stoughton? Anyway, it's a 17-mile walk, but they give you a t-shirt at the end of it. So, you know, if you're going to walk 17 miles, you better pick up your t-shirt. And so I have like, you know, I think 7 or 8 of those. And my wife says, well, there's a hole in it and I should, you know, make it a rag. And I said, no, burial shroud, think about burial shroud. I made a neat sort of, you know, woven together, you know, t-shirt thing. She hasn't done that.
Yes, I didn't like
But
it.
what she did do a couple of months ago is she sponsored an educational session with one of her friends who is a quilter and so forth, and they did quilting a burial shroud. We had 10 women, they were all women, and it was a great activity and so forth, and it just got people thinking. So.